Hello and welcome to this storyboard special. I'm Shibani Gharat. Mondelez India, or Cadbury's as it was known to all of us back then, has been present in India for 75 years now. The company introduced Cadbury dairy milk in India in 1948 and since then has been a leader in the chocolate category in the country. To be honest, my childhood memories would have been incomplete without the mention of Cadbury's or the company products. Cadbury's, Bonvita, 5-Star, Gems all have added colors to our festival celebrations, summer vacations or even sports days at school. Consumers' love for all Cadbury products over the past 7.5 decades has been immense, but it was not always a smooth ride. For example, many decades ago, when the brand was finding feet in the India market, it faced a real challenge as chocolate was seen as childish novelty in comparison to the country's wealth of homegrown sweet treats. The most critical task at hand back then was to create category adoption for chocolates. That's where strong marketing and advertising helped. And truly, in its strong 7.5-decade journey, the brand has created a sweet spot in the mind and hearts of consumers across the country with some of the most iconic ads that this country has seen. Whether it is Asli Swad Zindagi Ka or Kuchh Meetha Ho Jaye, Tayari Jeet Ki to Ramesh Suresh, or the most recent award-winning campaign that recently picked a Grand Prix at Cannes Lions was Shah Rukh Khan My Ad. All of them have had a significant role to play in the 75-year-old story of Cadbury's or Mondelez in India. To tell us more about the journey, today joining us in the studio are brand custodians. We have Piyush Pandey, Chairman Global Creative and Executive Chairman India Ogilvy, Nitin Saini, Vice President Marketing Mondelez International, Shekhar Banerjee, Chief Client Officer and Office Head West Wavemaker India, and virtually we are joined in by Anil Vishwanathan, MD of Vietnam Mondelez International, Sukesh Naik, Chief Creative Officer Ogilvy India. Start with you, Piyush. You are someone who has worked on Mondelez or Cadbury's account for 40 years now. Tell us more about, the time when you started work on the account. What was it like, your introduction to Cadbury's back then?
See, actually, my first introduction was in my very first year with a campaign that was done by my predecessor as the Creative Director of India, Suresh Malik. And even in 1982, it was the campaign of the year. It was a campaign which said sometimes Cadbury's can say it better than words. जो बातों से न बन पाए वो कैडबरी से बन जाए. It was a tremendous campaign. And then times changed, we evolved, and slowly with advertising, we were falling into the trap of parents buying chocolates for the children. They were eating also, but it was only seen as for the children. So when they used to grow up to 13, 14 years, they used to drop out. And that was not helping Cadbury at all. So we had to break that without losing the children. And that's when Asli Swad Zindagi Ka as a campaign started. And we were able to straddle both children and parents. And Anil and these people will know as to what it did to the market.
If you can share, what according to you as marketers were the most iconic points or milestones in this entire 7.5-decade journey of Mondelez in India. Nitin, first up with you.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, that's a great question. I think there are definitely a few that come to my mind. I would say that the work that we did in building relevance for Cadbury Dairy Milk, starting late 80s, and then in 2000s with the whole Kuchh Meetha Ho Jaye campaign, that has played a huge role in building relevance for Cadbury Dairy Milk as the modern Meetha. So that I would say is definitely one of the milestones that comes to my mind. The second milestone is actually the launch of Cadbury Silk, which has become a big brand today. And when we were talking about introducing it, we were already seeing this trend of consumers looking for more premium experiences. And I think we just got the timing right. And I don't think we could have done without Silk as we look at our business today. The third one that comes to my mind is actually the launch of Oreo, because we were a big chocolate company till 2011. And then we got Oreo, and Oreo is a really big brand today in our business. And now we can say that we are not just a chocolate company, we are a snacking company with strong position in both chocolate as well as biscuits.
Yeah.
So those three, and then I'll
Anil,
pass it over to Anil.
your inputs?
Yeah, just building on that per se, I think one of the reasons why we in India have possibly the highest market share across the world is because of the portfolio that we've built over the years. So typically, Mondelez is a very strong tablets brand, so tablets company in the world. Whereas in India, along with tablets, we have the whole portfolio from gifting to our countline brands, which is Perk, Five Star, Fuels, Crispello, to unique brands like Gems, and then of course our gifting portfolio. So that portfolio brings us the kind of category leadership and scale and strength that is unmatched, and that then becomes a strong competitive advantage for us. We aren't leaving really large niches for anybody to come in. Secondly, I think Nitin already mentioned, but to re-emphasize that along with our growth and scale, we are also one of the most profitable companies from a chocolate perspective in India across the world, and that's because of the way we built the premium chocolate business. In a market like India and in these emerging markets, there are very few examples of really mainstream brands premiumizing, and that way the premium portfolio that you've built is really world class. And this is something that we now want to take to different markets.
Yes, and incidentally, you joined Mondelez as a marketing trainee. So what was that like?
Yeah, I joined in 2003, so I just celebrated the 20th anniversary actually back in May. And it's been a hell of a ride, I mean, and that's the great thing about Mondelez. I've just been fortunate to get these varied experiences, whether it is sales or marketing, or whether it is working in the region or India or global. But I must say I'm very happy to be back here. It's the best place to be, Mondelez India.
Piyush, working on Mondelez or Cadbury's account for the past 40 years, you being with the company, with the brand for the past 20 years. There is Anil, who's worked on it for 23 years, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anil. And then Sukesh, I think, is someone who's the youngest who's been working on Mondelez for the past 10 years, 1 decade, if I'm not mistaken, but still man of the moment. You just picked up a Grand Prix at Cannes Lions for a campaign for Mondelez. So tell us more about this big win.
Collectively, we had a very good feeling when we went in with this work. And this work had kind of impressed even last year with the titanium that it converted. So I think, like Nitin rightly said, best in class. A lot of people were very impressed with our thinking, with the way we were building our market, the way we were providing solutions for our consumers. And I think it was very, I think that the jury that I heard, I met some of them after the ceremony, and they were pretty unanimous in their decision, which was very nice to hear. That they felt that this is the kind of work that they feel is creative and it's also effective, and they felt that they both can very well go together hand in hand, and that was something very nice to hear. So it was quite incredible to go back the next year and close the run on a very, very, very brave and a campaign that we are very proud of.
And Sukesh and Shekhar, you are the ones, you married something that is so human, which is the generosity platform, and weaved it into something, integrated AI into it, integrated tech into it. What were the challenges in doing so? If we can go one by one. Sukesh first.
The one with Shah Rukh Khan. Everywhere there's a human idea in play, and your idea has to be at the core of it, and it must have a human connection. And then the technology, honestly, a lot of times, Shibani, the interesting part is we don't even know how will we do that. I remember Shah Rukh Khan in one line, the idea which we went to Mondelez was that everyone has a brand ambassador, and what if we have a brand ambassador that can be a brand ambassador for everyone who needs it? And I remember in the room when we presented this, everyone said, this is fantastic, but none of us had a clue how we're going to do it. And I think that's where great teamwork also comes into play, which is what I'm very proud of, is all of us got into it and we found a solution. And when we found a solution, it was seamless, it was unique, it was amazing. What we are doing going forward this year also, the stuff that we're creating together, it's exciting, It's like I see youngsters in my team who are dying to work to find new, amazing connections.
Shekhar?
It's fabulous that it's almost like when you get the idea, say, I wish I could do this. And then there's somebody who comes and says, I can make it happen for you.
Yeah.
So that's the connection.
Yeah, actually it is very special what Sukesh was talking about, because the kind of journey that we have gone behind each of these ideas to make it happen. And Shah Rukh Khan ad we saw in the second year. First year was not just a Cadbury ad. And a lot of tech was of first year was used again in second year as the base level. So they were all build-ups. And I remember there was a 3-4 months period where there were moments we said it cannot be done. There were partners of us who said that no, it cannot be done, it's not possible. But then all of us again went back, because I think what was there, we believed in that idea so much that we said we have to make it done, make it happen, and therefore you have to figure out a hack. So a lot of techs which we used were actually not existing. So like the hyper local pin code level targeting that was set up, these techs were not there the way it has been used. And then second year when it happened, all those came handy. And then another tech got layered on top of it. It's very amazing. So if we had to do first year Shah Rukh ad, I don't know whether we would, how much we would have struggled. So it's crazy, the journey that we have done, and the persistence. I think that's the magic where it
What
is
was
there.
the challenge in convincing your client to do something like this?
I think
Not really.
Not really, actually.
He
Yeah.
was waiting for it.
I think, Shibani, we are lucky. I must say, Kuchh rightly said, I have Anil here. And Anil has been, I think this was what, 6 years back, Anil, if I remember, a meeting in Cannes with that started this
So
journey.
he never said कि ये क्या बकवास है, मतलब like
No, no,
what are you,
no.
what are you guys
Yes,
doing?
I think the amazing part,
Anil is Anil. He's not like me that when people say I'll do deep fake, then I would turn around and say, don't do anything fake.
It is time for a short break. This discussion on 75 years of Mondelez in India continues. You don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard, and in this episode, we are discussing the 75-year-old journey of Mondelez in India and what lies ahead. Yeah, before we move forward, let's quickly take a look at some of the iconic campaigns from Mondelez that we have seen over the years.
कुछ खास है हम सभी में, कुछ बात है हम सभी में, बात है खास है, कुछ स्वाद है, क्या स्वाद है जिंदगी में।
Cadbury's Dairy Milk, असली स्वाद जिंदगी का।
Okay, Piyush, your reaction, you were a part of this.
We were actually in trouble with Cadbury's that time.
You were in trouble with Cadbury's that time.
Yeah, because together we could not solve the problem. So this was a kind of ultimatum. And so this was a challenge. But when we recorded the song, I knew that we got something going. And when this girl danced, this is the first take, because that's where she was the most natural. And she did that take, and she danced that 13-second shot. We just said to each other, this account is going nowhere. This brand is going to go everywhere.
And what was the client reaction back then?
This
Who was the client?
Rajiv Bakshi was the boss, and he saw the work. The pitch was still on, and he just, the way he looked, he said nobody else has a chance.
Yeah.
So he was very supportive, and the entire film, he had a... So there are a number of things in this campaign, and the campaign was done by a whole lot of young people who picked up things from life. I think one of the things, and I'm covering all of Cadbury's stroke Mondelez in this, is that things were picked up from life in a fashion which was unfamiliar to people, and that's why they found it brilliant. That's why they enjoyed it. And touching people is perhaps the core of entire Mondelez advertising.
Which one has been your favorite, Nitin, so far?
I mean, there are lots. I mean, I must say the two that you played just now, they're absolute favorites. Some of the work we did around Shubharam has been absolutely wonderful. Some of our work on generosity has been great. I was a category manager for dairy milk once, like 10 years, 12 years back. And every time I would share the historical of Cadbury Dairy Milk, every time was an overwhelming experience. There's just so much of iconic work every 2 years. It's just wonderful.
Over to you, Anil. How does global perceive or look at this entire journey of Mondelez and Cadbury's in India, and what does it take to come up with, these brave, bold ideas?
Mondelez India has always stood for the creative excellence that we've been having for many years. So it's not a recent phenomenon, and there's always been seen with a degree of almost a jealousy to say, the consistency with which we were able to do great work, which also reflected in great business results, right? So it is not just about creative excellence standalone, but creative excellence leading to category creation, leading to consistent business growth. What's gotten added on top of the consistency is really work which now the world sees and says, what, I could have done it. It's no longer India specific. This is something that anybody could have done. What has impressed is the kind of thought leadership and experimentation that India has been able to bring in through the whole work around data and digital that Nathan was referring to. So I think it's moved on from creative excellence, which was always there, to something which could have happened anywhere in the world. So it's nothing specific to India. And then, really the experimentation and the thought leadership is now what India is being looked at from a global perspective.
So, as I mentioned, and this is to you, Nitin, and to you, Anil, as I mentioned in the beginning, it was never a smooth 75-year-old journey. There were hiccups on the way. The initial challenge, as I mentioned, was that it was perceived as a chocolate was perceived as something which is consumed by children, which you had to also get adults to eat it. That's why, the communication and advertising around it was so iconic. And then there were a couple of other controversies that you had to face. One was, of course, the worms controversy, which had European Amitabh Bachchan, to say that Cadbury is safe to consume. And then the most recent one, which was the one for Bonvita. What is the difference between, navigating and, battling a controversy back then as compared to now in today's day and age in 2023?
Can I just preempt him?
Yeah.
Because I've seen more years and more ups and downs. And that's where I come back to what you had asked earlier. See, there is one thing which most people miss out on. It's called brand love.
Yeah.
Brand logic is what people follow. Brand love is what keeps you going. In these controversial matters, it was not just Mr. Bachchan. It was brand love, where the consumer said, anyone can falter. They gave you a license. Brand love gets you the license. In the recent one, the brand love gives you the license.
Yeah.
When you asked about the thank you thing that Sukesh spoke about, the generosity bit is all about brand love.
No, but brand love was there for even Nestle's Maggie, but it was wiped off shelves for a substantial amount of time. But you guys survived that, you guys survived this. So what is the difference I
think it's very much, Shibani, brand love. And I think we have a very special relationship with consumers. We believe in building an emotional connect with people. And that does help us in good times and in bad times. That equity that we build, that love that we build, that trust that we build with people and with consumers helps us in both good and bad times. So I totally agree with what Piyush said here.
Anil?
These are controversial times, and there are people who are going to have multiple points of view at all at any point in time, and each and everything will be interpreted in different ways. I think at times like this, the more authentic a brand is, the more resonant, the more resilient and more resonant it becomes. So I think the attempt has always been to be authentic and be truthful in what we offer, knowing what we offer and what our limitations are, and being authentic to it. I think that remains the compass, because as I said, any activity, right? So Shah Rukh Khan Maya ad, when it came online, or the reinterpretation of the Shimona ad that we did last year. For anything that we put out, we do see people having different responses. That's the nature of the beast. Earlier also, at any point in time, a piece of creative would have its own critics. And today in social media, critics are being fanned, critics are being shared, etc., etc. So our evaluation has always been, is this the right thing to do for the brand? Are we doing it consonant to the brand's core and the brand's values? And then we put our neck out and say, yes, then we go ahead and do it. There could be repercussions if we manage it. So I think that's being authentic it becomes even more important. And that authenticity also comes with a degree of humility. Hence, there is a fair amount of effort also in listening. So Shekhar and Shekhar's team, and we have a large consumer cell team which is also constantly listening. And when it needs to be, when an action needs to be taken, we also take action. So it's not just about messaging and managing, but also taking appropriate action. And that's how a kind of a brand and a consumer relationship gets strengthened, right? Sometimes you make a mistake, then the consumer expects you to correct, and then you take that action. So I think in summary, being responsive and authentic.
Yeah. Piyush, if you can take us back to, how did you pull off the whole Amitabh Bachchan speaking about Cadbury's safe to consume in a commercial?
I think number one is what Anil has already said. The kind of stuff they did in magical time. They brought in machines. They went in for double packaging. In fact, when Bharat and I went to meet Mr. Bachchan, we actually, and he wouldn't agree to anything unless, because his reputation is also at stake. We actually took him and showed him that what we had done. And if you remember, there's one key line in that, where it says, Cadbury वाले मेरे पास आए, मैंने उनसे कहा, इसके बाद मैं सो कैसे सकूंगा? Then we took them through the entire process of what we had done, and he says, आजकल मैं बड़ी चैन की नींद सोता हूँ. So, as Anil said, that we do something about it. If we had not done something about it, then it would be an ad. And it would not be an exercise. This became an exercise, delivered in a nice fashion through Mr. Bachchan, but the exercise was there.
Sukesh and Shekhar, now over to you. Festive time is when you are so alive and active. So what's cooking? What's cooking in the coming months?
The main kitchen is in Sukesh's ad. Sukesh, will you talk about the kitchen?
I think lots of exciting stuff, Shibani. And like I said, we are always a kitchen which is on 24/7. And that's the best part about this kitchen, which is what keeps our teams, everyone working on it, tech teams, media teams, everyone so excited. So we got some very interesting, and I mean, we always hope, we try, and we always hope that people love and really, enjoy the experience that we're creating for them, along with gifting. So we got lots. There's Raksha Bandhan. There is lots of new initiatives coming on, and there is Diwali, of course. Down the road. So we keep building. We are consistent, and like Anil rightly said, and we all have agreed and aligned. Generosity is a beautiful, guiding light that kind of just helps us to stitch things together, so that when we do things, they don't look haphazard, and nobody questions saying, why are you doing it? Why is Cadbury doing it? And that's the best part. So if no one is really, and they're just asking, how are you going to surprise me next? How are you going to make my, experience go wow? So it's very challenging, but I would speak for everyone here, we love the challenge. It's great. It keeps us going, and we keep trying. We keep pushing ourselves, and we hope that we create in the coming months body of work that people love, you love, and all of us are again, meet again to talk about it in the near future. That's all we do.
And how many hands on the Mondelez account during the festive month, Sukesh and Shekhar?
All hands in.
All hands in.
Yes, always all hands in.
How many was it back then?
If given a choice, I think.
How many hands or how many people on the Mondelez Cadbury's account back in the 80s?
Number of people who worked in those days was much smaller. But the proportion of hands would be the same as now.
Is it? Okay. Final words, Nitin. What will we get to taste from Mondelez in the coming months? What do we have to look out for?
And there is a lot of exciting stuff, in the kitchen. As Sukesh already alluded to a few campaigns, it's a busy and exciting time for us with Rakhi, Diwali. We have a great birthday activation as well on celebrations that's coming up. There's work on Cadbury Dairy Milk, and we also are introducing a new product under Silk called Silk Ganache. So there is a lot of stuff that's kind of going on. And I must, Shibani, just say here that, we are really grateful for our partners, Ogilvy, Wavemaker. And I think I've said this before, if you go to a room and if you've got Ogilvy, Wavemaker and Mondelez in the room, you can't tell who is who. That's just the kind of partnership we have. Yeah. And very, very grateful for that. We wouldn't be anything but for this partnership.
How wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks all of you. Thanks Anil and Sukesh for joining us remotely.
Thank you, Shibani.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
With that, it's a wrap on Storyboard this week. You can catch all of our content on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time next week. See you soon.